Why did you start the campaign for safe cosmetics, and what did you find in your research?
So we started the campaign for safe cosmetics in 2002 out of a piece of scientific research that came out of the US government. The CDC started in about 2000 to analyze the blood and urine of America. It was urine. They analyzed urine for industrial chemicals that are getting into our bodies. And they've been doing a series of research every few years. They update it. So this was the first cohort of research, and they found one of the first reports that they made was a finding that they found to be very surprising, which was that they were finding a chemical called phthalates in the bodies of almost every single person they tested. And they were finding them at much higher levels in women of childbearing age. And so that was a concern because we knew phthalates by then, and this was 20 years ago, by then decades of research showing reproductive problems in animals exposed to phthalates. So here we've got them in our bodies in much higher levels in women. Why would that be? Nobody really knew why, because we knew that phthalates are part of plastics. They're basically the chemical that makes your vinyl shower curtain stinky, that kind of smelly, greasy almost feel to plastic is phthalates. But why would women be more exposed to plastics? Nobody knew. So the theory of the researchers I was working with was that they might be in cosmetics. So we went around looking at labels and squinting at tiny little labels and didn't find that word on any labels except for nail polish. We thought that probably wouldn't account for the difference. So we decided to do a study, and we sent dozens of products, shampoos, deodorants, lotions, to a lab to have them tested, and we found out that most of them, 2/3 of them, contained phthalates, weren't listed on the label. So we actually had a full-page ad in the New York Times explaining these results, and the photo of the woman in the ad was a pregnant woman, and she was holding a bottle of perfume, and the tagline was, "Sexy for her, but for baby, it might be poison." And the bottle was, the Times made us airbrush the name, but it was Poison Perfume. And the reason we chose that perfume was because it contained the most phthalates of any of the products we looked at. We thought, well, isn't that ironic? They have since cleaned up that product, so good for them. But it was a very surprising finding. It got a lot of attention, and that the question came up, well, what else is in cosmetics? And nobody's really looking, nobody's doing this research, and there's a ton of interest in it. So we formed the campaign for safe cosmetics, and as I mentioned, over the years, we tested hundreds of products at labs. We looked for carcinogens in baby shampoo. We looked for lead in lipstick. We found it. The FDA followed up with its own study. Also found that lead is unfortunately in low levels, commonly found in lipstick and many other beauty products. We also deconstructed fragrance, and we put out the ingredients of all kinds of top brand fragrances, celebrity brand fragrances. You can't find out what's in a fragrance. It's a huge loophole in labeling law. The companies don't have to tell you. So we told. And of course, we had lawyers look at everything that we did, and we made sure we wouldn't get sued. And the companies never said, you didn't find that toxic chemical in my product. They never said that chemical's not toxic. What they said is, it's just low levels, and you can't prove that causes harm. So we're finding low levels, as I said, in of formaldehyde, for example, in baby product after baby product. And that's not the only place. You'll also find those same chemicals in your home and around you in many different places in the air, the water. So it's an onslaught. And one place we know we can clean up is the beauty products and the products that we put on our bodies. So I think that's a good place to start for people to look at how to detox in their homes. And we've got lots of advice on how to do that. That we reported at the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics, which you can find at safecosmetics.org.
Are there toxic chemicals in breast milk? Is it still best to breastfeed?
Well, that's a great question. And there are, unfortunately, toxic chemicals found in breast milk as well as in blood and urine. And we're talking about hundreds of industrial chemicals that were not in the environment when my own mother was born. So this is a relatively new phenomenon in human history, and there's multiple lines of evidence showing that some of the chronic health issues that we have today are linked to chemicals in the environment, not just in beauty products, in our homes, in many ways, and in our food, our air, our water. So still though, breastfeeding is absolutely the best way to feed a baby. And I work on food issues now and have been looking at formula, and formula is not great solution for babies either. There's a lot of improvements that need to be made there as well, and in the food industry in general. So it's daunting, the task ahead of us to clean up these industries and really figure out how to have a safe, healthy food system. But there are paths to healing, and certainly sort of back to basics is a good general overriding rule. And breastfeeding for sure is still the best nutrition for babies.
What products do people assume are safe, but it turns out they have chemicals in them that are detrimental to our health?
So walk through any drugstore and probably most of the things on those shelves people assume are safe. And most of the things on those shelves, I've been surprised to look at what's actually in them once I've learned about these issues. And once you sort of see, you can't unsee. And once we started to see what was in beauty products, what was in the products on the shelves, and you start to ask more and more questions and find more and more answers that you don't want to hear, I think people want to believe the government's making sure that we're safe. The companies have it handled and they're only going to use the best. That is not true. Absolutely not true. The government has almost no power to ensure the safety of cosmetics. And the beauty industry, people think of it as an innovative industry, sort of cutting edge industry. One of the shocking findings when we really looked at what's in these products, they're mostly the same. They've been the same for decades. So companies have been, and this is true of the high-end, expensive, the white coat brands, the department store brands, down to the cheapest drugstore brands. Your shampoo is going to have basically the same ingredients and the same formula they've been using for decades. The innovative space is the natural products industry, which really has, as I said, figured out how to make these products without the toxins, figured out how to make suds sudsy or fragrance lovely. It's maybe not going to linger in the elevator for 30 minutes after somebody leaves. That's what the phthalates were used for. We found they're an inherent adherent for fragrance. They sort of make that fragrance stick around for a long, long time. So maybe we don't need those kinds of attributes to products. Yeah, the innovation is happening in the natural products industry, and that's the good news, that most products have viable, wonderful, non-toxic alternatives, and there's still some innovation left to do with the hair dyes, the hair straighteners, and maybe we don't need all these products. Because another thing about the beauty industry, of course, where they are innovative is in spending tons of money to try to make us feel bad about ourselves and feel like we need these products to be healthy and whole. So we don't. Fewer products, fewer chemicals, just start to move these corporations out of our lives is how I like to think about it.